See, you say that you care about the woman and you say that you care about the kids. You say you're out there marching for what these monsters did. You say that's for our safety too. You say that's for our rights. But if you cared about the women and children, why were they fleeing their homes at night? You say the problem is the men on boats and that they're the ones to blame, yet women become your target too when they're the same race you've made that plain. You say you care for women and you say you're taking a stand, but how can you say you're helping then want to vote for reform who will take our rights from our hands? You say you fight injustice and you say you've had enough, but where's that same energy when it's the white men that have been rough? Where's that same anger, that outrage and that fire when women report white men and justice never climbs higher? You say, what if it was you or your sister that happened to? You'd soon be against them then. And yes, let me tell you, it was a child that for 10 long years lived through a nightmare of silence, pain and tears. And when I turned 16, I finally found my voice. I reported what that man had done, originally not believing I even had that choice. And my case? It took 6 years. 6 years of holding both hopes and fears, only to hear no further action ringing in my ears. And my adoptive dad who essayed me, he wasn't foreign, and that's nothing new. He was a white British citizen. Now what does that tell you? Because evil doesn't need to come on a boat. Evil doesn't need to be a different race. It exists in every corner, every postcode, every place. The problem isn't your skin colour. The problem isn't where you're from. The problem is the predators and the justice system who lets them run. But here's the part that makes zero sense. You shout not all men whenever women take offence. You tell us not to generalise. You tell us that's unfair. You tell us one bad man doesn't mean you're all the same out there. And you're right, and I agree. Not all men do hurt women, and not all men are like the ones who hurt me. But when you turn around and tell us as immigrants instead, it's one rule for your group and another when it's them. You can't cry not all men and then scream all immigrants. You can't reject collective blame and then use it when it's convenient. You can't have it both ways. You can't play both sides. You can't ask for understanding then blame a race for one man's crime. Because I don't see white British men and think that they're all the same. I don't burn down family homes under one man's name. I don't scream abuse at strangers or spread further assumptions or hate. I don't blame every white man and make what happened to me decide their fate. And trust me, if anyone had a reason and could justify that view, it would be the woman that these crimes happened to. But most of us don't, because guilt belongs to the guilty and that's where blame should stay, not spread across entire groups just because it's easier that way. So don't tell me you fight for women, don't tell me you fight for kids, don't use our pain as cover for things that clearly aren't what this is. Don't wear our pain like armour, don't wave our trauma like flags. Don't speak over survivors and then expect a round of claps. Because if this was really about women, you'd listen when we speak. And if this was really about children, you'd stand beside the weak. And every time the football's on, the big tournament and the World Cup, women brace themselves behind closed doors and the domestic violence rates go up. Not because of migrants, not because of boats, not because of strangers, but because of men they know. The boyfriend, the husband, the ex who won't let go. The danger isn't always someone crossing borders. Sometimes it's already at home. But that conversation's uncomfortable, that conversation's hard, because it's easier to point at somebody else than to admit it's one of ours. If you say you're about protecting women, then do that all year round. Not just when it's done by an immigrant or where a foreign name is found. Because women with a broken jaw, they don't care about nationality. A child living in fear at home, they don't care about ethnicity. A rape victim waiting years for justice, they don't care about race. They care about whether there'll be any consequences for the offender to face. If this was really about justice, you'd fight it every day, not just when a criminal looks a certain way. Victims care when no one listened. Victims care when they were left behind. Victims care that their lives were shattered while the justice system pit the other side. So no, you aren't doing this for women. You aren't doing this for kids. Because when women are speaking, when survivors are speaking, the loudest thing that we are hearing is that you love to speak for us. You just don't like listening to us.